Mr. Rock's top 25 Goosebumps episodes with your host, Mr. Rock. Want to make sure that I'm live streaming before we start? Okay, we are. That is great. I had technical issues earlier, so that's why I didn't live stream until then. So yeah, big shout out to Rob himself, Miss Kiwi Gaming, Minky Minx, King of the Randoms, Rufus the Red, Mike Fox, Kidsborough, Hail Gorganis, My Broganis, Sinistar, Jade, and the rest. If you haven't, like and subscribe to those channels. With that being said, we're going to get into this video in just a second. So yeah. Um, so I have the list right here. So number 25 is Phantom of the Auditorium. Um, I think Phantom of the Auditorium is not bad, but it's literally, you know, kind of a weird episode. Um, I think that's where technically you had, what was it? The guy that was literally trapped in the freaking thing that would take the girl or whatever. It was like Phantom of the Opera, but yeah. But it wasn't that great of an episode in my opinion. I thought technically they could have done so much better um, than that, um, but yeah. Number 24, Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. I thought Piano Lessons Can Be Murder was a great one because it had literally like them playing the piano, but it was nowhere near my top like favorites of all time. But it was an early episode. Um, I remember the boy playing the piano and then technically seeing the ghost and all that stuff, and I thought it was pretty cool in a way. But like I said, it's literally something that is a great story to see, but wasn't a great episode to literally see. Like I mean, like it's a great story to read, is what I meant. But it wasn't a great story to see. But yeah. Number 23 is My Hairless Adventure, where I think what was it? The boy becomes the dog or whatever. I thought that was kind of a freaking cool episode. You know, that was like the intro episode for a while. Was the dog's eyes? You know, that would literally show in the intro of Goosebumps. And then you also had like viewer beware, you're in for a scare. You know, like I used to love the Goosebumps intro and everything else, and that's why the My Hero's Adventure literally came from was that dog with the eyes. That was the one thing I remember from the episode. Um, but yeah, um, number 22 is the blob that ate everything and the blob that ate everyone. I thought that was pretty cool because they literally are referencing an old classic movie, The Blob. Um, but that's the reason why it's so low is because it's already been done like a billion times. The Blob that ate everything. You know, um, but at the end of the day, it was still cool to see. And for a Goosebumps episode, I still thought it was pretty interesting. You know, but when you literally overdo something like a billion times over, you kind of lose its value, and that's why it's so low on the list. Um, Number 21 is Calling All Creeps. Calling All Creeps was good, but you know, it was still like, how do I say it? It kind of taught you how to deal with bullies in a way, Calling All Creeps, but it was literally like in a weird way. Um, I prefer, like back in the olden days, I actually sort of literally prefer the books than the actual TV show sometimes because the books would go into more detail. And I remember this one, Calling All Creeps was literally the one where technically I think the book was better than the actual TV show. And yeah, um, that's what how I felt. Um, Number 20 is Vampire Breath. Um, Vampire Breath wasn't bad, but it's just something I don't really remember that well. Um, I did watch every Goosebumps episode literally like 4 or 5 years ago, so I did see them all when they were on Netflix for a while. So I did see it. It's just that I can't really remember every episode. And same thing with Vampire Breath. I barely remember the episode. Um, so um, Number 19 is Monster Blood series. Um, and that's the thing about some of these things is that sometimes they're in seriouses because technically a lot of Goosebumps episodes literally had one, two, three parters, four parters. So I just literally put down serious in it. So Monster Blood wasn't bad, but like I said, I always loved the Goosebumps books, sometimes even better than the actual show. Um, R.L. Stein is pure genius. But yeah, Monster Blood is number 19. Number 18 is Go Eat Worms. I thought that was pretty interesting. Um, but like I said, um, I don't really remember too many of these episodes. Like as we go to the top 10, I would start remembering. But Go Eat Worms, I believe it was, what was it? The kids that would eat worms or something like that. Um, but yeah, so yeah, that's number 18 is Go Eat Worms. Number 17, Bride of the Living Dummy. I thought Bride of the Living Dummy made the dummy, Night of the Living Dummy, kind of weak, you know, by having the girl come in and everything else. Because it literally, like, made him literally take abuse in a way, it seemed like. But Bride wasn't too bad, but like I said, it wasn't as good as, like, Slappy, you know, from the original Goosebumps. You know, I thought technically the original Slappy freaking thing was better than the Bride. I thought they just brought the Bride in because they ran out of ideas to do with Slappy. So, um, number 16 is the Perfect School series. Um, I thought that was not bad either. Um, but I don't really remember it that well. Um, some episodes I do remember very well, and then there's some I just go whatever because I wrote the list and I just wrote it off of freaking whatever, and I'm trying to play off memory. Like I wrote this list literally like almost a month and a half ago. so um, so that's how long we actually have had this list out. But yeah, the Perfect School series is number 16. Number 15 is The House of No Return. Um, I'm trying to remember that one. I don't really remember that one either. The other one I do. Number 14 is The Barking Ghost. I actually do remember this episode where technically the boy gets lost in the woods because I just recently seen this one not too long ago. The Barking Ghost, where the boy gets lost in the woods and technically, what was it? That girl is literally a dog or something like that, and he literally it's like the boy that cries wolf. He literally tells that technically there's dogs that are trying to chase after him and eat him. Meanwhile, technically, yeah, it was kind of an interesting episode for number 14. But yeah, um, number 13 is Cry of the Cat series. But yeah, trying to remember that one. I don't really remember that one that well. So I'm going to go into number 12, which is the Chillology series. I'm trying to remember that one. No, I don't really remember that one. either. Number 11 is Click, and I remember technically Click was the one with the remote control in a way, right? Where technically they control life, and it's been used so many times where they stop time, they watch time. I think The Simpsons did it. I think there was a movie about it, and everything else. But the Goosebumps one was pretty good actually. Um, but yeah. But now we're into the final top 10. So number 10 is One Day at Horrorland series. One Day at Horrorland was actually really good. I actually do like it. I like that technically they had the carnival games and everything else, and then technically you can't leave. You know, they thought that they were just going to like amusement park, which is called Horrorland. No, you can't leave. You're in a game show, which you're literally playing for your life. And I thought that was actually really cool because it was literally like a twist. You know, you go to an amusement park and all of a sudden everyone's just like a monster, and you're literally thinking that they're actors, but they're not. You know, and yeah. Number nine's Attack of the Jack O' Lanterns. I thought Attack of the Jack O' Lanterns were pretty cool. I think that's the one where technically where the kids are forced to trick or treat from the jack o' lanterns. I think that's the episode. You know, where technically the jack o' lanterns literally say, "Well, you gotta give us candy. You gotta give us candy," and they're like, "We want to stop trick or treat. You can never stop." You know, and I thought that was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, um, like I said, when we come to the top like 10, I actually remember them way better. Number 8, It Came from the Sink. I remember this episode very well. It came from the sink. It was that frickin' spongy frickin' thing that bit people and everything else, you know. And it had like eyes, and it had like the glowing eyes, and it had like the face, and it just bit, and it was like an orangey sponge, and it was just so awesome to see this damn thing come to life, you know, on the screen, and it was like, holy shit, this is awesome. But yeah, It Came from the Sink was this a great episode. Um, Honestly, it would have been even better if they actually even brought that into like a movie, like a Goosebumps movie. It Came from the Sink or something like that. Like some of these stuff from like the new Goosebumps movies that they could literally adapt into like into now, you know. But yeah, number 7, the Cuckoo Clock of Doom. I remember the Cuckoo Clock of Doom very well. You know, where the boy was losing his mind. And honestly, it's a very famous freaking episode because technically, you know, like you had like the boy literally freaking hearing the cuckoo clock all the time, and technically every time he hear, like it literally, I think what was it? It reversed time or something like that. Like the cuckoo clock was literally stuck, and then technically it would go forward or go back. It made him into an old man, I believe, and then made him to a bit before he was born, and then it made him like disappear, like he was never born. And I remember that, like seeing that, like it was like, whoa, that was pretty damn cool, you know. And yeah, the Cuckoo Clock of Doom at number 7 was pretty good. Um, but as we keep going, number 6 is Cat Nightmare. Oh my goodness, Cat Nightmare. What can you say about this episode? Like, it literally showed that technically don't believe everything you see. Because technically, Cat Nightmare was literally like a freaking thing where you're supposed to be scared. But you find out the whole entire freaking episode was all scripted, you know? And it was like, I think what was it, a two-parter of Camp Nightmare, I think it was? And technically, they literally said there was wolves, there's snakes, and everything else. You find out it's all electronic wolves. It's like snakes everywhere, and honestly, when you find out it's all acting and all that stuff, you know, coming from like a Hollywood background, like my mom used to do like movies and TV shows and all that. I used to see stuff like that. So it was actually quite freaking funny to literally see stuff like that because I used to see props and stuff like that all the time. Like good old freaking movie props and all that stuff. So I think Cat Nightmare literally showed that, and that's why I fell in love with it more than a lot of the other episodes because of technically just to see the movie props, knowing that it was fake and everything else, and knowing that technically it's like a movie. They came in and technically it was like a Hollywood movie. But yeah, um, number five is right here. I actually have it on VHS. The Haunted Mask trilogy. I actually loved the Haunted Mask. I thought it was a great freaking thing. It's not my favorite, but it's still pretty damn good. You know, I just recently watched it yesterday, I think it was, and you had Carly Beth that literally couldn't find like herself. She wanted to scare people, but she wanted to scare people to get revenge because everyone kept on picking on her. And technically, they made her eat worms, and everything else. So she literally tries to get revenge. But by getting revenge, she literally loses who she is. And the episode ends where technically she finds out who she is. She's able to take off the mask, and it ends with the brother, I believe, putting on the mask, which was kind of cool. But yeah. Um, Number four, I actually own as well on VHS. Stay out of the basement. What can you say about this episode that has not been said? This was such a great episode. The dad that turns into a plant monster, because he's eating plants and everything else. The real dad is stuck in the basement and everything else. Like, this episode, back in the day, taught kids to literally obey your goddamn parents. When they tell you something, you better listen. If they tell you to stay out of the basement, stay out of the damn basement. You know, Stop snooping around. But yeah, um, they find out technically he's literally, what was it, laying on a bed of worms. I think that was the first episode where technically they showed off like a billion worms at one shot, and it was really cool to see that at that time, because before that you didn't see that on TV, but it was pretty cool. Number three, oh yeah, say cheese and die. I still think that this could be a reality. I hate to say it, but this could be reality. You know, the Say Cheese and Die. I think what was it? Ryan Gosling, I think, um, was in this episode. But yeah, it was literally the camera, in a way, the old Polaroid camera that took pictures, and then anything that literally happened in the picture would literally cause death instantly. And I remember watching Say Cheese and Die and just being blown away by like the predicament of it. And honestly, if it wasn't for Say Cheese and Die, there wouldn't be Final Destination movies. Because technically, think about it, they took the same freaking thing. You know, you could see into the future, you know, and then literally freaking adapt it from that. And and you're gonna say, well, could they literally do? How could it be in real life? Why would you have a defective phone? You know, you had a defective phone or something like that, and technically, you take a picture and all of a sudden it blows up. It turns into a bomb or something like that. It blows up and blows you to smithereens. You know, like I'm saying, technology might be advanced, but the people that make it are not. You know, everyone makes mistakes, and all it takes is one defective product to literally go, and there goes your head. So we are seeing it in, what was it, GTA? I think it was GTA 5. I believe that's part of the story mode where technically the guy operates a bomb or something like that through his phone. But yeah, um, another one, number two. I used to own this on VHS. I frickin' used to own this, and I used to watch it constantly. And this is why it's number two. Night in Terror Tower. I used to love it so much. And everything else. I used to freaking play this VHS tape constantly because it was such a good episode. Like when you had that freaking guy coming after you and everything else, and then they go into the Middle Ages. Like the kids go to the Middle Ages, and then they can't pay for the cab, you know, because they don't have any money because technically they're stuck in the Dark Ages trying to find their way home. And I just remember watching this episode and going, "Oh my goodness, this is freaking awesome," you know. And then you had like the guy that literally had the rocks or something like that, trying to cast a spell, you know. And I just remember watching the episode going, "Holy crap, man, this was so good." Because it literally starts off with these kids going into the tower. You know, that's how the episode starts off. Kids go into the tower. They see like this night freaking thing, and then they see like this man running towards them down the hall. But it's like a ghost man, you know, because they find that the man was literally a wax statue or something like that. They walk past the wax statue, but the wax statue is actually a real man. So, um, but yeah, I think everyone can figure out what number one is. Number one is the Night of the Living Dummy. I freaking love Slappy. Slappy made me laugh so hard. You know, Night of the Living Dummy series. Slappy made me laugh so goddamn hard. You know, and then literally taking that boy and making him, you know, getting all the punishment for literally what he's done wrong was just so brilliant. You know, but yeah, Slappy, awesome. Night of the Living Dummy was literally great because technically it threw a spinball at you. You know, what would have been really more cool, and technically R.L. Stein could have done this, but technically he didn't, was literally have the family literally die, like have heart attacks or something like that, and then put all the souls inside Slappy. You know, like make him the soul collector, like Chucky or something like that. You know, and then literally try to literally kill the boy in a way, but the boy literally freaking kills the dummy, and then his family comes all back together. Like that would have been something that would have been a little bit more cool, but it doesn't really happen in a way. Um, but that's something that how I would have wrote the episode myself if I was to literally rewrite that episode. But yeah, that is my top 25 Goosebumps episodes. So yeah, I want to thank everyone for coming out, even if you liked and didn't and everything else, or just watched or whatever, or watch later. Um, but yeah, uh, but with that being said, I'll catch you guys on Tuesday with RoboCop Broke City. It's already downloaded. So technically, yeah, I'm just waiting to literally play the game now. So yeah, see ya.